Welcome back to the Goal2Go podcast, man. Episode 50. 1 day removed from preseason football, man. Tomorrow, Hall of Fame game, Jets-Browns. Kicking off the preseason in Canton, Ohio. Hometown Cleveland Browns, and obviously the New York Jets as well. Both teams, the Jets obviously hard knocks, big hype on them. Won't be seeing the starters out there. QB, going to see second stringers, so Zach Wilson getting action, Kellen Mond getting action, and then obviously probably going to see the starters later on in the preseason. But this episode, man, we got the AFC and NFC West, man, division previews, along with our preseason top 10 quarterback list. So we're going to kick it off, man, in the AFC. Keep it in the conference or the division that won the championship last year in the Kansas City Chiefs, man. So the AFC East, who you got in that 4th spot in the AFC West?
In the AFC West, I have the Las Vegas Raiders coming in at number 4. I had them at 5-12. It was tough to find games that the Raiders could win on this schedule. I just think they're going to take a step back. Jimmy G, he's replacing Derek Carr. What does that really do for your team? Nothing. Probably makes you worse. Crosby and Adams on both sides of the ball are elite, some of the best players at their position. But other than that, there's really no other names, no one else that does anything spectacular. Josh Jacobs, one of the best running backs in the league, he's holding out. I saw today that I guess he's back having conversation with the Raiders, so they're trying to talk things, figure it out. Regardless if Jacobs is there, this Raiders team is probably going to be pretty bad, and I think they're going to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes trying to get that number 1 pick next season.
Interesting. I have the Raiders in that 4th spot. You mentioned the wins. I figured I gave them a little benefit of the doubt, man. I'm doing it in the preseason. I gave them 6 wins, 6-11.
Big difference from 5-12.
So 6 wins might kick them out, that Caleb Williams sweepstakes. But, they had a veteran presence on the defensive side of the ball, Marcus Peters. Jacoby Myers on the outside of the ball, who won them a game last year while he was on the Patriots. So he joins them, and you mentioned Jimmy G. Not really much of a change at the quarterback scene there. So it's like, Josh Jacobs being that 1,000-yard rusher, that, top 10 running back in the league that he's been most seasons. Him holding out, that's big, takes away a weapon. You mentioned, Tay Adams on the outside. Jimmy G, we'll see how that connection is. Just because you got, if not the best, arguably the best receiver in the NFL in Devontae, you got to give him a little bit of credit. They could go on a little bit of a run, but realistically, 6-11. You mentioned Crosby, one of the better pass rushers in this league as well. 6-11. I think that's a safe bet for the, I'm gonna say Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders this season. So I got them at 4 as well.
Yeah, and then right above them, I have the Denver Broncos, who I think will have a better season than last year. I think they'll be competitive, but ultimately I had them at 8-9. It just comes down to how good will Russell Wilson be. You kind of saw, a tale of two cities in his career last year, where in Seattle the year before he was pretty good, got injured, and then comes to Denver and he's just a shell of himself. Now, you saw the comments Sean Payton made about Nat Hackett and how this team was run. He said it was like the worst coaching job in the history of the NFL. So could that have something to do with it? I'm sure we talked about it a lot last season and how bad that team was ran and stuff, but I think Sean Payton will definitely help this offense and this team in general. But, it's a tough division, tough conference. I think their defense will continue to be pretty good. Patrick Surtain, one of, if not the best corner in the league. I think the Denver Broncos will be a solid middling team, maybe looking for a shot at the wild card, but ultimately I got them falling just short at 8-9.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I got the Broncos at the 3, 8-9 as well. You're the Sean Payton guy saying he was going to go to Denver, and look and behold, Sean Payton is the coach now. Russell Wilson, you mentioned the struggles with Hackett and the little shots that the Jets have been sending as well to the Broncos, who play each other this year. Should be interesting there. They re-signed Kareem Jackson on the back end, veteran presence. Jerry Jeudy, bouncing back, full season. Can he stay healthy? Big question mark. One of the most skilled receivers. I mean, when he's on the field. They signed Samaje Perine, decent pickup over there from the Cincinnati Bengals. They got Marquez Callaway as well from the New Orleans Saints, add another weapon, kind of that deep ball, maybe a little bit similar to, Tyler Lockett in Seattle. Russell Wilson, he liked him over there, really connected on that deep ball, maybe trying to get, a weapon that's similar to Lockett and Callaway. Obviously not as experienced, doesn't really have the resume or, the tape to back it up, but highlight reel, in the preseason a few years ago, and really has been quiet since, hasn't had an opportunity to shine. So we'll see if he gets a chance in Denver. And I think the biggest, offseason signing for the Broncos is your boy. I bet Alex Singleton to the Broncos, man. But not.
What, they re-signed him? He was on the team last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, they re-signed Singleton.
That was just a name I'm glad I didn't have to think about for a while.
But yeah, 8 and 9, man. I could see them being in the hunt. Week maybe 16, they kind of fall out of the hunt, and 15 fall out. So 8 and 9, third seed in that AFC West. I got the Broncos as well.
Yeah, so coming in at number 2, I have the LA Chargers. I think Justin Herbert will continue to be an elite quarterback, and I think he'll take a step further this year. Kellen Moore coming over from the Cowboys, bringing over that explosive offense. I believe the Cowboys were like top 5 in offense the last couple years. So, this offense is productive. You saw what Dak Prescott, who was a good quarterback, could do. Just insert Justin Herbert, who has an elite arm talent. Super, super special. You add in Quentin Johnson, young rookie receiver who's going to be able to finally stretch the field and hopefully be able to catch those crazy deep bombs we saw Justin Herbert, showcase. Slater comes back. Left tackle, sure of that own line. Hopefully, Herbert can continue to stay upright, as have broken ribs again. And the defense, I think they're going to be a solid unit. You got Bosa, you got Derwin James, Asante Samuel. You saw what he could do last year in the postseason with all those interceptions. You got some ball hawks back there. I think it'll be a solid unit, and I think the Chargers will be coming in at 10-7. I got them at 10 wins. A solid playoff team. I don't think they'll, be the number 1 seed from their division, but I think they'll be in the wild card, a good team, and I think we see Justin Herbert take another step.
We're just on the same page at this point. I got the Chargers at 10-7 as well. I finally got them getting, over that hump of can they make the playoffs. We saw it last year, obviously, other than the debacle they had post halftime against the Jags. Re-signed Jalen Guyton. They got Quentin Johnson in the draft, the guy who's, a lot of talk about his name and his, go out and get the ball ability and, sticking it. They got Eric Kendricks. They added to that defense as well. Solid
addition, yeah.
Solid pickup, that linebacker core. The Eckler thing, kind of, Eckler's gonna play, but
if he's in the backfield, he's a great running back. He's gonna produce.
He definitely is gonna produce. They talk about that age, his workload over the years and just how many touches he gets in general. Will that take it into account? I don't know. I'm a big Austin Eckler guy. He's really good running back in this league. Deserves all the credit, even though he's undersized and maybe not a true runner, but he touches the ball and he makes plays. So
versatility is what he brings to the game. Catch it out of the backfield, catch it down the field, in between the tackles, outside. He can do it all.
Kind of like your boy Sproles at one point in his career, or Alvin Kamara, maybe better runner than Sproles, but
and bigger, more physical,
no doubt. But 10-7, man. You got agent Keenan Allen, who's always banged up. Mike Williams, also always banged up. Can those guys stay healthy on the outside? It's a big question mark. Same goes for Bosa. He's been banged up some points in his career as well.
Khalil Mack too, isn't he still on there?
Yeah, Khalil Mack's still over there in LA. Another
injuries has been kind of a big part of his downfall recently.
Yeah, you take away injuries from those two guys. Those are 2 top 5 pass rushers if healthy. I mean, at some point in their careers, they were definitely considered the best of the best.
For sure.
So 10-7 for the Chargers. I think that's a safe bet. Herbert gets a payday. It's time to make it happen, improve. He's worth all that money he got, and probably leads the Chargers to a wild card spot, but in a tough AFC conference as well.
Yeah, but we'll talk about our quarterback rankings later. So I think in a tough AFC conference, but I think they have one of the better quarterbacks. But one team they don't have a better quarterback is the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think any team can say that. I have them coming in at 13-4. I mean, there's really not much to say about this team at this point. Really, just Patrick Mahomes. Like, what else do you got to mention, bro? The combination of Mahomes and Andy Reid, I don't think they're slowing down anytime soon. Travis Kelce, like you mentioned before we started, still in his prime. He's still producing. Receivers don't really matter. Someone's going to catch the ball from Mahomes. Chris Jones anchors that defense that was young last year, but, they got a bunch of experience under their belt playing in the playoffs and winning a Super Bowl, so I think they'll just continue to get better, and the Chiefs will be one of, if not the best team in the league. So I got them at 13-4, led by the best player in football, Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, it's about time. We were a little off with the record. I got them at 12-5, first in the division. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Kels, whatever you want to call him these days. Best tight end, arguably, to ever do it. He's up in that conversation with the greats at his position. And I was like trying to think of just like the free agency moves that they had. You get Rashee Rice in a draft or whatever. They signed Felix Aduki Uzama, the DN. All right. But the only real key loss, I mean, yeah, Juju walked, he's out of Kansas City now. They lost Orlando Brown at the tackle position, which obviously big hit there. But other than that, I mean, you mentioned it, Patrick Mahomes. You got Isaiah Pacheco coming back, who late round draft pick. They still have Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the backfield as well, who's a first round pick. It doesn't matter who you really throw at receiver for Patrick Mahomes. He's going to make plays. And I'm not even going to say arguably, greatest player of this generation for sure, and definitely the number one quarterback in the league. So number one QB, we know what that means. It's a quarterback league. Chiefs 12-5, winning the AFC West just like they have been the past few years. And then
you want to kick off the West?
Yeah, I could kick off the West, man. Kicking off the NFC West, man. A little bit more, up in the air in this division, in my opinion. But in that last spot, man, the 4 seed, I got the Arizona Cardinals, man, 4-13. Kind of, I was looking at their roster moves this offseason. They signed your boy Kaiser White, probably the best addition they had. They lost Byron Murphy. Obviously, D-Hop out of Arizona now as well. Kyler, he still has Hollywood Brown over there. Have yet to see a full season or even, an extended period of them on the field together. So this should be interesting, but nothing really. New coach, new system for Kyler once again. Tough for him to adjust. First year woes will definitely come into play. Schedule's not really friendly at all. So, I got them 4-13. Could they scoop out a little? Should they be a 9-win team? They should in reality. But 4-13, man, the Arizona Cardinals last in that West.
Yeah, I also have the Cardinals coming in that last place, and I had them at 3-14. And like you mentioned, bro, that schedule, it's just tough. Kyler's going to miss a chunk of the season. Going over this stuff right before I just looked, there's still reportedly no timeline for Kyler Murray to return. So we don't know how long he's going to be out and who's going to be their quarterback. Colt McCoy, come on, bro. They got a bunch of draft capital next year as well with that trade they made with the Bears. So they got some ammunition to move up. And like you mentioned, a new coach, they might want to get their guy next year in the draft. Not a lot of talent on that roster. And as of now, no quarterback. And I think this team is probably the favorite to land Caleb Williams, that number one pick with all that draft capital they have. Kyler coming off an injury. I know they paid him, but, we see guys get paid and then moved off of right after before. So, kind of the same situation with Kyler. They drafted Rosen in the first round. Next year, they take Kyler Murray. So, unfortunate for the Cardinals right now. I just think they're in a weird place. If Kyler's healthy, like you mentioned, I could possibly see him getting those 9 wins somewhere around there. 7-8 wins, trying to be competitive. But, I mean, with Kyler going to miss at least the beginning of the season, we don't know how much time he's going to miss. It's going to be tough for this team to get wins. So I got him scraping 3 wins.
Yeah, no doubt. Next up, man, third place. It's tough to say. This team, they just won a Super Bowl not too long ago. I got the LA Rams, man. I caught them coming in at 5 wins. I got them at 5-12. You know, Matt Stafford, aging QB. He didn't want to take a pay cut. They're still paying, you know, have no draft picks, have nothing. I don't even think they had enough cap room to, like, kind of sign the rookies. They had to restructure everybody's contract just to sign the rookies they drafted. And they didn't even have any first-round picks. Maybe not even a second. I'm not even sure. But, you know, the Rams, I didn't even write any notes for him. I mean, you lose Jalen Ramsey. Aaron Donald probably should have retired after the Super Bowl. I feel bad for him. Rams, I mean, it's just 5 wins. Cooper Kupp banged up, obviously. That duo between Stafford and Kupp was demolishing defenses and won them a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Could I see them getting 8 wins? Yeah, but between those two guys being on the field at the same time right now, it's not looking like it's going to be over 60% of the season.
Yeah, so it just looks like I'm the one being harsh on the NFC West because I got the Rams at 4-13. So you're giving both teams a little
they won one
extra
one
win.
game, like you said. It's just one game.
Just one game, yeah. But like you mentioned, I think Kupp just had a hamstring or a groin, I think yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah, got injured in camp. Stafford, he's coming off of that major throwing arm injury. How good is he going to be? He's getting older and banged up. Lack of talent on this roster, man. Aaron Donald's really the only name on that defense. Traded away Jalen Ramsey. No really, standout names. I also think this is a team where this season can get ugly very fast for the Rams, and I do believe this is the first year they have their first-round draft picked. I think next season they do have their pick coming up. But, yeah, like you mentioned, for the last few years they didn't have it, so not really an influx of talent coming into the Rams outside of, the big free agent signings who they are just let go. So, like you mentioned, man, it'll be tough. They have, like you mentioned, Kupp, the big names, but can they stay healthy? I don't think they'll be able to get it done in this division where the top 2 teams I think are leaps and bounds ahead of them talent-wise.
Yeah, and for the Rams, I mean, the no draft picks. We talked about it last year before anything of this happened. When they're coming off the defending champs. I mean, the reason you trade all those draft picks is to win the Super Bowl, which they did, but that leaves you in this period of limbo. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah. You might just be here.
Gotta pay back the loan, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it is.
That's a great analogy, man. Pay back the loan for sure. They got their ring. I mean, that's what you're striving for in this league. So if you're going to take 3 down years, I'm sure the Rams, they're still pretty happy with their decision.
Next year's draft class for quarterbacks is supposed to be, on the deeper side. There's some talent. So, I mean, they finally got their pick back. Why not take advantage and try to find, the next person for that team? Because with Sean McVay, so far, we've seen like every quarterback he's had has had success. Jared Goff,
yep.
They got to a Super Bowl, ultimately lost, but they made it. And then Stafford comes in, they win the whole thing. So, give McVay some time with a young guy and see if he can coach them up.
Oh, yeah.
Young talent, and I think they make a few moves. All they need is a quarterback, and they'll be right in the conversation again.
No doubt. I mean, and then free up that cap space to where they can actually do something in the offseason. Yeah, because,
I mean, it is L.A. People want to go there. That's a team, they got some pulling free agency.
SoFi Stadium, I mean, come on, man. Who doesn't want to play over there?
Yeah.
That leaves us with the second team in the division who we both clowned last year. And the Seattle Seahawks calling 12th man the best player that they had on the field. And the Seahawks, I mean, I got them above 500. I got them 9-8 on the year. I think it was their schedule was like not the best, but the Seahawks surprising. You get another year, Geno Smith coming off his Pro Bowl year. They sign Devin Bush, Draymond Jones, D tackle. They go ahead and draft another weapon in JSN on the outside. You still got Noah Fant, who arguably, coming in was one of the higher-ranked tight ends coming into the league. We've seen him. We know he can make plays.
First-round talent, yeah.
Exactly. Kenneth Walker, obviously going to come back at some point. Run game has always been there with Seattle, no matter what running back they kind of put out there. They've always got some type of competitive backfield. They got Devon Witherspoon, and obviously DK, Tyler Lockett. They stay healthy, paired with JSN. I mean, you could just throw it around. Those are weapons and skill guys. They really set it off for Geno. They're like, we saw what you could do last year. We're going to put it all on your table. Just give us that same thing. Now you got so many more weapons. We could spread the ball around everywhere. Defense isn't bad. Got some young talent. Tariq Woolen on the outside. Young stud in this game. So I got the Seahawks 9-8. They could squeak out 10. In this NFC, though, probably a wild card team as well making the playoffs.
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered everything. I agree. I had them at 10 wins, so I got them coming in at 10-7, but around the same area. Talented young roster looking to improve off of a successful season last year. Like you mentioned, I don't think anyone had the Seahawks winning that many games or even making the playoffs. So kind of a surprising year for them. But unlike a team like the Giants, where it looked like the Giants overachieved, now they'll come down to earth. I think the Seahawks, they can kind of capitalize off of this momentum and look to continue to be a competitive team. And you mentioned another year for Geno Smith in the system. He'll just be more comfortable. Added talent, like you mentioned, in Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then on the defensive side, Woolen will be that star, kind of like you touched on, and it'll just be a solid defensive unit coached under Pete Carroll once again in that run game, like you mentioned, up in Seattle. They'll run the ball. Although some of the injuries do concern me, like you mentioned, Kenneth Walker, I think he's dealing with something right now, and Zach Charbonnet, one of the running backs they drafted, has some kind of, I think, shoulder injury or something. I'm not too sure, but they drafted like 2 running backs. They always got a bunch of running backs up there. Somebody decent will be carrying the ball for Seattle when the season starts, so I'm not too worried about that. But, yeah, I think the Seahawks are a good team, like you mentioned. I think they'll be a wild card contender, and I do have them making the wild card 10 wins, so I think the Seahawks will be a good team.
Yeah, no doubt. And when we said 12th man was, the best player, we said it because – you go on the road against Seattle. It is a tough environment to play in.
Yeah, that'll definitely help too.
Home field advantage, big time with the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, definitely a playoff team. If they could get, into the playoffs, who knows what happens there. And then number one, it doesn't even matter the question. I mean, this team's just so talented. Who is the quarterback in the San Francisco 49ers? I got them at 11-6. They got Terrence Mitchell, your boy Javon Hargrave at the tackle now, new addition as well. That only beefs up, Bosa on the outside. Then you got Javarius Ward, Hufanga, the safety. You got Drake Greenlaw. You got Fred Warner. I mean, this defense is stacked top to bottom. And then you just hit the offense. I mean, you got some of the best weapons in football. Debo Samuel could do it all. CMC could do it all. You got one of the best tight ends in George Kittle as well. And not even to mention a young talent in Brandon Ayuk. It's just so deep. Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, who's the other? Sam Darnold. These guys can find a way to win games. And if not, possibly have a chance to beat your Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game if they had a able quarterback at the time. But, now they got 3 of them. They got a surplus. So Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, obviously, I think those are the 2 that are really going to be competing. But it's a system. Kyle Shanahan, he's always been a great play caller. I don't think it slows down anytime soon for the 49ers. They win the NFC West.
Yeah, I also had the 49ers coming in at 11-6. And, I mean, there's not really much to say with the 49ers as well. At this point, you covered it. They're an elite roster, arguably the best roster in the league, in a weaker NFC, which would always help. Shanahan is going to continue to be an elite coach and scheme people open. CMC, another full year in that backfield. He'll put up crazy numbers. I think Elijah Mitchell's coming back healthy. So that offense will continue to produce crazy numbers. Debo, Kittle, you mentioned, Ayuk, all those guys. It'll be a fun offense to watch. On the defense, they got the former Defensive Player of the Year. Talent all over the place. I think Ward, he left in free agency, though. I think he went to the Texans. He left with
oh, yeah, you're right.
With
the coordinator,
defensive coordinator. Yeah,
you're right. My bad.
To Houston. But regardless, they still got talent. That defense is going to be really good. The only real question I have is quarterback. And that's the most important position in football. Sam Darnold, I mean, he's seeing ghosts. We know what's going on with him. Brock Purdy, he played really well, was a solid game manager, but, a big injury to his throwing arm in the NFC Championship game. An arm that was already kind of questionable. How good will he be? And Trey Lance is up and down. Reports are saying he's not the guy that if Brock Purdy isn't, fully cleared, that Sam Darnold's going to be the one starting for him. So looks like the team is kind of out on him, but, elite talent, elite upside is there. So, just a bunch of question marks at the quarterback. If this team had, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, I think they'd be a lock for, for winning the NFC or being a lot more competitive in the NFC. But 11-6, the 49ers are going to be good. I think they'll be one of the top teams in the NFC. Just questions at the quarterback spot.
So Javarius Ward is still on the 49ers. It was Jimmy Ward that went to Houston.
Oh, Jimmy Ward. Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, another loss, but,
yeah,
very talented safety.
Ward, yeah.
But, yeah, so, I mean, the question with the Niners, we all know QB for sure. And, is Brock Purdy able to lead them as, the starter? And Sam Darnold, that might be tough. Niners traded up for Trey Lance. Is it worth it? All those questions for sure going to be circling around, not just the Niners, around the league and that organization as well. So
yeah, and how good will Purdy be now that, teams got film on him? Because last year was kind of, catching teams off guard, kind of out of nowhere. No one really knew what to expect. Now teams know what to expect. They kind of know his tendencies and how he plays. They got plenty of games of film on him. So I think defenses will try to, adjust as best as they can to him.
Yeah, for sure see some struggles throughout the season from him, but it's all about, just maintaining. You got such a good team, trusting those guys.
Mm-hmm.
He just has to make a play at some point. So with that being said, man, that wraps up the AFC and NFC West predictions, man. Let us know what you guys rank your teams at. Moving on, though, top 10 quarterback list heading into the 2023 NFL season, man. Do you want to start from one? Because I feel like...
Well, I think we can just get one out of the way and then just go from the bottom up. Because everyone's Patrick Mahomes. You can't that.
We know that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll let you start because...
All right, so just, we're going, projection next season, because that's kind of how I made my list, who I think will be the best, projection wise. I didn't go off talent or because I took into consideration the schemes and how teams are everything.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean mine's kind of similar in a way, right. But
wait, whatever. We'll discuss it. Top 10 quarterbacks. Number 1 is Mahomes. We all know that Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, a tier above everyone else. So that is nothing really needs to be said. At number 10, I have Kirk Cousins.
Now, you watched QV?
I didn't. This was the hardest one for me, bro. I'm gonna be real. It was between Kirk, Jared Goff, and then I also had Geno Smith in mind for this position at number 10. I think all of those quarterbacks are kind of similar, but I just gave the nod to Kirk just because he's been more consistent. We've seen Geno Smith last year was kind of his first year of being productive. Jared Goff, we've seen up and down seasons from him throughout his career. Whereas Kirk Cousins, he's going to be consistent. You know what he brings. He's a solid quarterback, and I do think he is a top 10 quarterback in this league. He's put up numbers before. He's got Justin Jefferson out there. The Vikings are going to be a solid offense, and I think, as long as you're not in prime time, Kirk will be good enough, and he'll do enough. And he can lead this team to the playoffs, and he's led them to the playoffs before. So I think Kirk is a solid option. I think he gets too much hate, and then, this offseason you've seen things like quarterback that kind of showing love and stuff. People mad that Justin Jefferson didn't name him a top 5 quarterback. He's not a top 5 quarterback. Top 10? Sure, I got him at number 10. So I'm going to rock with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. I was kind of struggling with number 10, and then I just decided... what am I even doing, man? I mean, I just got to be honest with myself at this point on this list. So it might ruffle some feathers here, but number 10, man, I got big for Deshaun Watson, man, coming in at 10. You said coming in, into the future, into this seaon, obviously right now not a top 10 quarterback in this league. Hasn't shown it since he's come back from, being away from football, the injury, and then last season, the off the field issues. So he hasn't played, well. I think he played 6 games last year, 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. So not great numbers overall, but you could kind of see progressions, really wasn't there. The system now, we're buying into this is Deshaun Watson's kind of system. You go out and get Elijah Moore. They didn't have a true number 2 wide receiver in Cleveland. Was playing in a lot of snow games, still adjusting. Full off season to prepare and everything like that. So I got Deshaun Watson at that 10 spot, man. And to be honest, I think at the end of the year, he might even be higher. This is just me. I had to.
I feel like he could definitely finish higher if he's anywhere near what we saw him in Houston. Yeah, then he'll be at the top. But
I know it's going to ruffle some feathers right
there. I kind of figured you'd put him somewhere in here, so I'm not really mad at it. So at number 9, I have Dak Prescott. Now, being a fan of the Eagles, I don't like Dak Prescott. I don't like anything about the Dallas Cowboys, but I got to give credit where it's due. And I think Dak is a top quarterback in this league. Now, is he one of the elite or one of the best? No, but Dak Prescott is a quarterback, kind of like Kirk Cousins, but I think he gives you a little bit more athletic. You kind of know what he's going to give you game in, game out. The turnovers are kind of questionable. I'll send you the clips. They're everywhere on this offseason. Dak throwing picks, but he's never really been that big turnover guy throughout his career. Last season was kind of an anomaly, but, they still concern you. Some of the decisions he made, especially like in that Jacksonville game last season, not really the best. But at the end of the day, Dak Prescott is an accurate quarterback. He's got the weapons on the outside. That offense has always been really good. A solid O-line in front of him. And I think Dak Prescott is the number 9 quarterback in the league. He's solid.
Yeah, man. I said I was going to ruffle some feathers. I didn't just mean with the 10 pick. Number 9, I got Aaron Rodgers, man. A lot of hype coming into this season. Hard Knocks, Jets, finally getting out of Green Bay. Got the weapons around him. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall coming back. You got, the defense is top tier. Now, will the Jets be playoff team probably? Yeah, no doubt. But Aaron Rodgers, his job at this point, if the Jets had a decent quarterback last year, they'd probably make the playoffs and, could go on a run. So his job's not that hard, in my opinion. He's got to go out there, compete, obviously, but that defense is a main focal point, especially with Robert Saleh, defensive-minded head coach, coming over from San Fran. So it's like Rodgers at that 9. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to be an MVP. He's just got to limit turnovers, kind of have a season like he did last year in Green Bay, which by far wasn't a top 10 season, but surrounded by a better team, more weapons around him. I got him at the 9 spot. I just like a lot of these guys, a lot younger on this list, and Rodgers only getting up there with age, and I don't think he's gonna age like Brady did to where he's winning, being the main focal point of a Super Bowl.
Yeah, at this point we know Rodgers isn't Tom Brady.
Yeah,
and it's funny you say, because I thought I have Aaron Rodgers at 8. I'm gonna just say that, but I didn't think it was a pick to ruffle feathers to have him here. Still a top 10 quarterback. Like you mentioned, I just like these younger guys with, I know I didn't say like talent, but they have more talent and the positions and stuff. But I think what you said was really, really good. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is gonna have to, put on MVP performances for this Jets team to be good. I had this Jets team winning like 10 or 11 games, and I think that's because of the talent around Aaron Rodgers. So I don't think he'll have to be, a quarterback on the level of Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow. I think Aaron Rodgers will just have to kind of let the talent around him carry him, get the ball quick to Garrett Wilson, hand it off in the backfield to Breece Hall. He's got Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, all these names he's familiar with. And like you mentioned, that defense is going to be really good. So it's not going to be a lot on Aaron Rodgers. Now, he is playing for the New York Jets and the New York media, and everyone has expectations. So I do think there'll be a lot of pressures on Aaron Rodgers, but he's going to be 40. I don't know what number season is this for him. I don't know. He's been in the league forever. He's older, so the arm talent, the mobility, the stuff like that. may take a slight step back, but I think Aaron Rodgers at this point, he's seen everything the NFL can throw at you. He's still an elite processor of the game. He's still going to be able to make some of those crazy throws. I just don't think, talent, athletic-wise, he'll be on the same level as the quarterbacks ahead of him. I think he'll still have a solid, really good season. So I got him at number 8.
Yeah. And for my number 8, I know this is where me and you are going to have some disputes. I got your boy Justin Herbert. He's a number 8 ranked quarterback in this league. And you're laughing. I mean, you could say 27-0, whatever. Regular season, he's struggled at some points, really looked like a shell of what Justin Herbert can be. And obviously one of the most talented quarterbacks in this list. And he could definitely move up. But I got him at number 8, man. I'm just never been as high as you when it comes to Justin Herbert. I still think there's other guys better than him. I don't see him at this point, higher than 8. I mean, 8's still really good.
Okay, so what is the main reason you don't think Justin Herbert is good? Like, what's his limitation?
No, he's good. He's number 8.
No, I'm saying, why don't you, what is his limitation? He's got no clutch gene. No clutch gene?
No.
I don't understand what you mean
against
by no
the Jaguars. You're telling me the Jags defense.
He wasn't on defense and let up all of those points in the second half.
How many turnovers did he have in the second half?
How many?
2
turnovers.
Yeah.
Okay, and Trevor Lawrence had 4. Like, I don't understand. That's not his fault, bro. Justin Herbert has been let down by the Chargers organization. The talent around him has never been up to par. The defense has not been good at all. When is the last time the Chargers have had a good defense, a competent defense?
90s.
All these, every single name you list above him, I guarantee you they've had better teams and weapons around him. So, like, if we're talking about pure talent, just like being able to throw the football and a better team this year, they finally have an offensive coordinator that'll let the quarterback with arguably the strongest arm in the league throw the ball down the field. Justin Herbert, well, there's not 7 quarterbacks better than Justin Herbert in the NFL. I'm sorry, bro. He's
made one playoff appearance. Like, you could say all about the team, but at the end of the day,
he's going into what, his 4th year?
Okay, but you're acting like he should be higher than some of these other guys who have won playoff games, that have led their team to conference championships. Now, one of them I know you're going to disagree with, but it is what it is.
Well, it's not going to matter because this upcoming season, he's going to get arguably 1 or 2 playoff wins. Justin Herbert, bro, there's no way Herbert's the 7th best quarterback or 8th best quarterback in the league. I just think he's talented than a lot more of these other. If you put Justin Herbert in every single position of the quarterbacks you name above him until, like, the top elite, he's going to be better.
Okay. I mean,
like, I'm just like it.
Number 8, we'll see when we play, 17 games this year, what Justin Herbert's got in store for us. But 8 is not bad, man. I mean, it's top, I don't know what percent. I'm not a math guy, but number 8, I think that's rightfully so for Justin Herbert, man. So I got Herbert at 8.
Yeah, that's a little low. But at number 7, I have former league MVP Lamar Jackson. Now, the big knock for Lamar is health. He hasn't been able to finish the last couple seasons. He's been banged up. He had his amazing MVP year and then has kind of slowly declined health-wise after that. You can say question marks about, his accuracy, him throwing the ball. He's led the league in touchdown passes before. And then his explosiveness on the ground. Outside of Justin Fields, maybe if you want to argue Jalen Hurts, he's the most explosive runner with the football in his hands at the quarterback position. The talent is there. The new scheme is there. The weapons are around him this year. And I think if he's fully healthy, Lamar Jackson will be successful in Baltimore. So I got him as the 6th best quarterback.
So now, other than health, is Lamar better than Herbert?
No.
Okay.
At being a quarterback, no.
All right.
Justin Herbert is a way, way better passer, better arm strength. He's more accurate. In pure passing situations when it's 3rd and long and you have to throw the ball to make a play to keep the game alive. I want Justin Herbert throwing the ball. I think Lamar is more athletic. He's better at running, and maybe if you want to talk about like overall and adding athleticism, he's a better athlete than Justin Herbert. But in terms of in the pocket throwing the ball, I don't think he's in the same league.
It's not just about being in. I asked you who's a better quarterback.
It's Justin Herbert.
All right. I mean, does Herbert have an MVP?
Well, we're talking about right now. We're not talking about 2019 when Justin Herbert was still in college.
Anyways, man, my number 7 is the guy who knocked down Justin Herbert. And I got T-Law, man. I got T-Law at the 7th spot. You know, going out there in Jacksonville, expectations, you know, after the abysmal Urban Meyer start to, you know, Trevor Lawrence's career, kind of derailing him, not really having a coach for most of the time. Finally gets in the system. They finally get some wins. Trevor Lawrence, arm talent. I think he's up there with the best. And your boy Herbert when it comes to arm talent and being able to deliver the ball. You mentioned those, you know, turnovers in the playoffs. Obviously, something that's going to need to be cleaned up. They go out and obviously got Calvin Ridley, who now is able to play football due to not being suspended anymore. And you're the one that sent the clip of him on the ladder drill, or maybe not the ladder drill, is him running routes and just how much faster he is. I mean, Calvin Ridley was a top talent in this league outside. You had him to T-Law. I just think, you know, T-Law at that 7th spot, him and Herbert, kind of near the same wavelength in my opinion.
Yeah, so for number 6, I have Trevor Lawrence, and I think he'll eventually be a lot higher than this. But as of now, the guys I put ahead of him, I kind of did the, you know, if I put this quarterback on my team, would I take him over, you know, the current quarterback? And it was close. I really like Trevor Lawrence. The arm talent, like you mentioned, top prospect coming out of Clemson. I mean, it was so weird what Urban Meyer did, and then you give him Doug Peterson, a winning football coach, and you kind of see how he's able to produce. Down the stretch last year, you could argue he was the best quarterback in the league. He has the arm talent to, you know, make all the throws on the field. You mentioned added some weapons around him. Solid running game with ETN. The defense is okay, but, I mean, in terms of just being a quarterback talent and where I think they'll finish next year, I think Trevor Lawrence at 6 was, I don't want to say a low kind of ranking for me, but it was conservative. Trevor Lawrence at 6 is conservative for me. I think he has talent to be one of the top quarterbacks, but still young, still learning. So I think 6 is a good spot for him right now.
Yeah, so at number 6, I got a guy that you didn't put on your list at all, which kind of disrespectful because when he was on the field, he was easily up in the MVP conversation. I got Tua, man, at that 6th spot. You know, obviously last year, the freak injuries. We were at the game where they were chanting MVP, and you were like, no way. And yeah, but anyways, man, I mean, Tua, you saw that deep ball connection. You saw games against the Ravens where he was able to come back early on in the season. We talked last week how he struggled against the Chargers in that game, probably his worst game ever. And then he struggled on Christmas also against the Packers down the stretch as well. But other than a few games, I mean, Tua, he was literally dropping back. I think they were throwing passes over 70% of the time. He was hitting all his spots. He was threading the needle. And, you know, the question of his arm talent was really on display of him underthrowing Tyreek Hill. Well, I think if you're not Patrick Mahomes, you're going to underthrow Tyreek. And even Patrick did it in Kansas City a lot. Just Patrick has a way better arm, so no one would ever question it. But, you know, Tua for the 6th spot, you know, take away health, injuries, whatever. Just, you know, pure talent. If he's on the field 17 games out of the year, I got Tua in that 6th spot.
Bro,
QB.
So Tua hasn't won a playoff game?
No, he's...
So then what is he better at being a quarterback than Justin Herbert?
Well, considering he was literally injured last year and couldn't walk probably. Okay. I mean, with
Herbert had broken ribs.
Major brain injury. Like, listen, I'm just saying, man.
Okay, so injury, what is Tua better at? Injuries aside, they're both fully healthy. Well, why are you taking Tua?
Tua's a winner.
Okay, because he has arguably the fastest skill room in the league around him.
Yeah.
So, do you think the Dolphins will be better if you insert that team? Just put Justin Herbert instead of Tua.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no.
Yeah, no, you were right.
No.
Yes, they'd be better.
That's why they drafted Tua over Herbert. I mean,
And that's why Brian Flores was very upset.
Brian Flores
and benched Tua his entire rookie year because he
you
knew.
You see where Brian Flores is at right now, man.
He's the defensive coordinator for the Vikings, I believe. But
Defensive
regardless,
coordinator, key.
Well, he was right talent-wise that they should have taken Justin Herbert instead of Tua.
Well, I got Tua at the 6.
Okay.
Who would have been an MVP possibly if he didn't get hurt last year. And
you could say the same for Herbert. He could be an MVP if he isn't injured.
All right.
At number 5, I have Jalen Hurts. Now, I'm an Eagles fan, and I love Jalen Hurts. He's, my favorite team's quarterback. I think he's really talented, but I do think he has limitations, and I think the scheme and everything around him really, really helps. If you put Jalen Hurts, for instance, on the Chargers, is he a top 10 quarterback like Justin Herbert is? Is he a top quarterback like Joe Burrow is when he came into the Bengals when they were a mess? I'm not too sure. Jalen Hurts has everything that he needs to succeed around him, but he does have that dog mentality. He elevates the team around him as long with, the team helping elevate him. The running ability, we know how good he is athletically. In every single year he's been in the league, he's progressed as a thrower. I believe he continues to progress as a thrower. The reports in training camp saying he's been amazing. I believe he hasn't thrown an interception yet in training camp. He's been really, really improving with accuracy. Having Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown really helps. But I think, there are limitations on Jalen Hurts' arm talent-wise, but I believe he'll continue to make strides. And I think it's his mentality that kind of has him up here as a top 5 quarterback in the league. So I got Jalen Hurts at number 5.
I think that's a little bit low. Like I said, I came in here to ruffle feathers.
All the quarterbacks ahead I have ranked ahead of him. I thought would I rather have them or Jalen Hurts on my team. So the names above I think would be better.
All right,
or are better.
Someone was talking about maybe it was Kirk or Brock Purdy. I don't know what NFL player it was, but at the end of the day, this is football, and football games are hard to win. So if you're a quarterback and you're going out there and winning, what more could you ask for?
But I don't think winning is a quarterback stat. It's a team game.
Who takes the loss? When a team loses, it's the quarterback.
Well, I mean, unless you're Patrick Mahomes, I don't think any of these quarterbacks are just going out there single-handedly winning games. You need a team around you.
I mean, yeah, of course you need a team, but
if you look at the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, he's always had a top 10 defense. Bill Belichick has been known.
Has he ever had really weapons? Has he ever?
He's had Randy Moss.
He had Randy Moss for how many years? Just a couple.
Yeah, no, he had Randy Moss that one year, and they went undefeated and beat every single team and only lost in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So, Tom Brady's had Wes Welker. He's had Gronk, arguably the best tight end of all time. A very, very physical presence in the red zone.
But who made these? This is Tom Brady making these guys, though. Obviously talented Rob in his own respect. Wes Welker had a career in Miami before. Was he like he was in New England? No, not even close. So
okay, but it's still talent. Wes Welker was talented in Miami. He's just in that New England system. Bro, name any quarterback, bro.
Like I said,
Joe Montana, all those quarterbacks for the 49ers. Oh, why were they winning? Because they had Hall of Famers everywhere on the defense. Jerry Rice catching passes.
Why are they?
Winning isn't just for a quarterback stat, bro. Winning is important. Quarterbacks are the most important, position on the field. So they do play a big part in winning games. But when you just say, this quarterback wins games, it's more than just that. Is Kirk Cousins a winning quarterback? He won 11 one-score games last year. You wouldn't say that about Kirk Cousins.
He won 11 games, bro.
So why don't you have Kirk Cousins in top 10? He wins.
Because I think Deshaun Watson's going to be better this year and lead him to more wins than Kirk Cousins this year.
That's a bad argument because Kirk Cousins, although he's a solid quarterback, he has a good team around him. He has Justin Jefferson, arguably the greatest receiver on pace to be the best receiver of all time, breaking all these records. But, like, he has help around him. All these quarterbacks, everyone that you think, like, all these teams have help around them, bro. Like, you can't just say winning. It's not fair for a quarterback that has talent and could be a lot better than they are when the situation around them isn't as good.
You could have said Jamarcus Russell had all the talent in the world, but he was never a good quarterback because he had no talent around him, bro. He was a bust. Like,
well, no, Jamarcus Russell was a bust because of his mentality. We all know the story.
Okay,
we heard about what happened with Jamarcus
yes,
Russell.
But
you know the famous "Did you watch film?" story. Like, come on, bro.
It was a bad analogy, bro. But it comes down to winning. I think no matter what you think, yeah, you got to have a team around you. But the quarterback is the focal point day in and day out. They're the only player touching the ball every snap. They're the only player that knows every single read on the team. They're literally the heart and soul of a team. A quarterback goes down. Now, the Eagles, when they won the Super Bowl, Nick Foles stepped up and played really well at quarterback. Now, how many teams have actually won with backup quarterbacks out there? You can't because you need a good quarterback. What happened when they had no quarterback? I mean,
well, that's because they didn't have a single quarterback.
Exactly. I mean,
but they had Brock Purdy, the number 6 pick in the draft, and he had arguably the best roster. And people were saying they had a chance to make the Super Bowl.
They did.
And is Brock Purdy a top 10 quarterback? No.
Who knows? He could have been.
No, Brock Purdy is not a top 10 quarterback, bro.
Who knows?
The talent around him. I agree. Quarterbacks are the most important part of winning, but I don't think winning is solely on the quarterback.
Okay, but you got to admit that winning tips the scales to the quarterback. You can't.
Yes, you do have to win games, but I don't think it should be.
So if the Chargers went out there and won 4 games this year, is Justin Herbert still your number 3 quarterback?
Well, I mean, if he's still putting up, the numbers he has been putting up, and I think he's like the all-time leading passer at this point in his career and this year. So I mean, if he's still out there putting up numbers, but no, if Justin Herbert goes out there, underperforms, throws interceptions, isn't careful with the football, then no, he isn't a top quarterback anymore. But if he isn't being helped by the Chargers and he's still playing really, really well, then you can't knock him. I get what you're saying. Yes, you have to win games as a quarterback. But I don't think it should be weighed as heavy as, is this quarterback good or not? Does he win? Yes or no? Oh, he wins? He's good. Does he win? No, he's not. I think you got to take into consideration of the situation and everything around them when you're talking about how good a quarterback is. Yes, wins do matter. You have to take them in consideration, but I don't think they should be the sole factor like you're saying, where it's like, why isn't Justin Herbert good? Oh, he doesn't win. He doesn't have a clutch gene. Like that's
just why I got him at the 8. Bro, I'm not saying Justin Herbert's a bad quarterback. All of these guys at some point you could honestly be at the end of the season, you could be like, okay, this guy could flip-flop with this guy, at least through, the majority of the middle, the backpack of this roster, or what it lists, whatever you want to call it. So I get what you're saying.
But you have to agree, even in the top 10, at some point, there's a tier or a break in terms of talent and how good these guys are. Yeah, all these quarterbacks are top 10, but I don't think Dak Prescott and Joe Burrow are in the same tier. I think there's definitely a break in terms of talent. So when you have Herbert that low, you just don't think he's as talented or as good as other quarterbacks.
Okay. I mean,
because if you're going off just winning, I understand having that winning. Low, but
obviously
if you're
Herbert is a great quarterback skill-wise. That's not a question. But all these guys are great quarterbacks skill-wise.
I mean, I think there's a gap between. It's tough. I don't know. I get what you're saying, but
it really is. I'm just, maybe it's because I'm a Herbert hater, but whatever.
Yeah, you think he's a social media quarterback, right?
I mean, he is a social media quarterback, bro. He just looks good out there, man.
For sure, dog.
Number 5, I think. You just did number 5, right?
Tua. Yeah. Who you got at number 5? Well,
you
no.
just went, yeah, right?
Yeah, I said Jalen Hurts was my number 5 quarterback.
Yeah. And I said it was too low. I got Josh Allen, number 5. Obviously, we know his talent. And one of the best arms in the league. He could throw in any type of weather. Great for Buffalo. You know. But it's kind of concerning to me when you got your star wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, saying, we got the guys, we got the coaches. Why isn't it working? Well, you know, Josh Allen, your boy Brian Dable, made his best season of his career. It could have been a coaching thing. Can it be Josh Allen slinging the ball 80%? Sure. You know, maybe if he wasn't, would he be a little higher? Maybe. But talent-wise, number 5, I mean, tremendous athlete, can run. We've seen him. He's gotten the big moments. Literally almost beat Patrick Mahomes at the biggest stage. Now
he did everything he could. That was on the defense.
I kind of, in that situation, and I'm about to contradict myself later in this list, and you're about to.
I mean, I know, bro, because that's not how you should rank them. But go ahead.
Anyways, I mean, just, you know, the turnovers obviously an issue. Got to clean that up. His decision making, and, you know, just ability to limit those has not been there at all. Whether it's, you know, even the quarterback sneak against the Vikings where he couldn't get it out the end zone when they were at the 1. Just a small sloppy plays that really doesn't really take skill. I mean, he has the skill. It's just the little things he doesn't excel at, the attention to detail. So that's kind of why I got him at the 5. Definitely wasn't talent, but just the little things I don't think Josh Allen's yet really gotten and grasped in the league. But still, obviously, one of, you know, the better talents in this league.
Yeah, and I'm kind of right there with you. I have Josh Allen as number 4, and this is the name I kind of flip-flop back and forth at 4 and 5 between Hurts and Allen. But like you mentioned, what gave Allen the nod to me just over Hurts a little bit is because we've seen him carry teams before where, you know, Josh Allen has made plays through the air and on the ground to kind of put his team over the edge. With Jalen Hurts, it's a system, and he's elite in the system, and I think he'd be productive at this point in his career, the way he's, you know, elevated his play throughout the years. I think he would work on pretty much any team, but in this Philadelphia system, Jalen Hurts is elite, whereas Josh Allen, he is the system in Buffalo, and the talent is there. I mean, arguably the strongest arm in the league. I think Mahomes is the only person, maybe Herbert, but in terms of just throwing the ball, throw power, throw distance, Josh Allen has all the tools, can make every tight window throw, isn't afraid, you know, to take hits, can beat you from the pocket and from outside the pocket, excuse me. You know, we saw how he likes to run over players, get outside. Josh Allen he has all the talent, but like you mentioned, turnovers are kind of an issue. He does kind of like to gamble and go for that big play, and at times that can hurt you. Isn't the cleanest with the football, so turnovers are an issue. Fumbles the ball a little bit, but if he can clean up those turnovers, but I don't think he ever will. It's just kind of the player he is, the running gun, high risk, high reward, kind of go for it all gambler type of quarterback. Still super talented, still really, really able to, you know, just go out there and win games. So I got Josh Allen at number 4.
At my number 4, man, I got a guy who I don't like to watch play at all, and I thought you ranked a little low in Lamar Jackson, former MVP. You mentioned the health. Set aside the health, full season, if he's healthy, I think he could even go higher than, you know, the number 4 quarterback. Yeah, obviously accuracy not there, maybe arm strength, but I mean that's just not his game. Mike Vick, he had a strong arm. Was he the most accurate at times? No, but he could get it down there more than Lamar did, and Vick was considered one of the best quarterbacks in the league at the time. And you just watch this guy play. I mean, the systems ran through him. You mentioned the system, like Josh Allen. Well, he is the system. It's not like it was Lamar Jackson's show. We got a new offensive coordinator over there in Baltimore, probably going to see more gun sets than the pistol, 2 tight end, you know, 2 receiver formations that they're used to. But, I mean, I watched this guy put the pads on, and when he's on the field, the Ravens are literally one of the best teams in the NFL. I think when he's on the field, their win-to-loss rate drastic, very drastic. I still don't think, you know, the Ravens didn't want to pay him last year, and Lamar, if he had gotten paid last year, Lamar would have been on the field for the Ravens, and they would have been a playoff team, possibly, competing late in the year. They decided not to pay him at the time, wait till the offseason, then they pay him. So now it's kind of like, all right, now he's your guy. He's bought in. If, it's a lot of ifs, but you can't play ifs with health and, quarterback list. So that's why I got Lamar 4. I just seen him dice up, so many defenses, whether, scrambling and just being able to chuck the ball downfield to vicinity of the receiver. It's just the defense attracts to the runner, and he's able to make plays. And I think that, sometimes the legs, create the arm for him. So it's just something you got to watch out for. I think he's the number 4 quarterback, and I just, I think the injuries have really derailed his true value.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of mentioned already about Lamar. I think, athletic-wise is the reason he's even able to be able to be in the top 10. And I think he's a really good passer. Just the only reason I don't have him, a little bit higher is because I think everyone I listed above him is elite or is projecting to be a better thrower of the football than Lamar. But, yeah, you mentioned athletic-wise, you can't take anything away from Lamar. So, coming in at number 3, I have the 8th best quarterback in the league, Justin Herbert.
Quarterback.
I kind of already said everything I want about Justin Herbert. I know I mentioned before I didn't do it just based off talent. This is kind of a projection, but in terms of talent and having all the tools and being a prototypical quarterback in the NFL, Justin Herbert really has everything you're looking for in a modern day quarterback. He's big, has all the arm talent. He's athletic enough to move around and run and be mobile outside of the pocket. I mean, the only thing holding Justin Herbert back at this point is what you mentioned is wins. He doesn't have a playoff win. The Chargers at times can kind of, underperform on the big stage. And I agree with you. That's a thing. And I think going into this year with the new system, improved weapons, Austin Eckler's in the backfield, an elite running back we talked about, you want to see him take steps into becoming a better winner and a better player at the quarterback position. And I think we'll see it. We haven't, been let down by Justin Herbert yet at this point in his career. I think maybe this year they could win 2, maybe even 3 playoff games if everything goes correct. But in terms of, just dropping back, passing the ball, moving, doing everything you need a quarterback to do, processing defenses, everything, I think Justin Herbert has it, and I got him as the 3rd best quarterback in the league.
And while you had it, I would compare Herbert to kind of this generation's Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, the talent's there. Obviously, the skill's there. And the reason Rodgers isn't better than Brady's, not just numbers. I mean, if you put the numbers, they're probably similar. I mean, Brady played more years. And, but it was the wins for Rodgers versus Brady and the amount of Super Bowls. So I could see Herbert, kind of being like the Rodgers of, one of the great talents that maybe should have won multiple Super Bowls. But, we'll see if that's it.
I agree, and that's a solid comparison. But
okay,
in terms of Rodgers, he's up until last year, he's never been the 7th best quarterback in the league.
No.
If that's his comparison. So,
I mean, maybe a couple years he'd be 5 or I just
Aaron Rodgers when he was at the peak, when it was him and Brady, he was always considered a top quarterback.
I mean, yeah, top 5.
He wasn't 5. It was it was always Brady, then maybe Manning, and then maybe you want to throw in Rodgers. I don't think Breeze has ever been better than Aaron Rodgers.
Nah, I think they were using a conversation for a couple of years. If you're just looking at pure, numbers, I mean, Drew Brees is up there.
All right. I get what you're saying. He's been in the conversation. I get it.
I give Herbert one more year, and maybe I just T-Law beat him out. I had to put T-Law ahead of him. You could say it's not a quarterback game, but the big stage, whatever. Now here's where I'm really gonna ruffle some feathers, and I'll get to the reasoning probably when I hit the number 2 player. But number 3, I got Joe Burrow, and here's why. I mean, Joe Burrow, obviously, great, talented quarterback. You could say the O-line hasn't been there for him. That's why he struggled at some points. Well, he's got, arguably two of the best receivers. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, probably not going to be able to pay him both. Defense is a little bit shaky. They do have a bit of a pass rush. And Joe Mixon, one of the better running backs people consider in the league, who I really don't buy into. So I give Burrow more credit than, of working with Mixon in the backfield. But great talent. He's got good arm, good presence in the pocket. The time in the pocket probably hasn't been there all the time, but I got Burrow 3, and I really just don't want to dive into it until I speak on the number 2.
All right. Well, I have Joe Burrow as my second quarterback, and I think, excluding Patrick Mahomes, because I don't think it's just fair to compare any of these quarterbacks to him. In terms of, having that clutch gene or having that it factor, I think Joe Burrow has that the best out of everyone on this list. And well, you mentioned Tom Brady, and in terms of, having that, clutch gene, that coolness under pressure, I think Joe Burrow is the closest we've seen to that in recent years. Always performs well under pressure. Is a very talented quarterback, but doesn't have the super, super crazy arm like the Josh Allens, like the Justin Herberts, like the Patrick Mahomes. But his arm is good enough. He's super accurate. Can make every throw on the field, just not those crazy throws like some of the other quarterbacks. But like you mentioned, with the weapons around him, he doesn't need to make those crazy throws. He can make any throw he needs, get it to Jamar Chase, get it to T. Higgins. And I do think Joe Burrow is a good enough quarterback to kind of carry his teams. And we've seen him go head-to-head with Patrick Mahomes, beat him. We've seen him go into Buffalo, beat Josh Allen. Winning is, like I mentioned, is not everything. But Joe Burrow has an ability to win football games, and that's important. That's big. That matters, because at the end of the day, winning matters. So I got Joe Burrow at number 2.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the tear after the ACL, bouncing back, getting to the stages that he brought him to, obviously, it's got to carry some type of weight. Now, at number 2, I got your boy Jalen Hurts. Now,
I like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eagles propaganda. Let me hear it.
So, I really thought I did some deep thinking for probably 3 hours today at work, man. And I was like, I had Hurts 3, I had Burrow 2. If we're just talking pure talent, but Jalen Hurts, he came into the league not as the guy. Everyone doubting him. Maybe he had a chip on his shoulder, pressure wasn't there, as opposed to Burrow came in as the one, got hurt, and had to climb his way back up to stardom. But Jalen Hurts, we talked about it all year long in games where they're like, the offense might not be able to score. Well, he comes out and he throws for 3 touchdowns. Then the next game, he might go rush for 100 yards. And the only other person that in the league that I think could do it like him is maybe Lamar Jackson to a certain extent. You mentioned. In
terms of running and throwing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Lamar being the former MVP.
Would you throw Josh Allen in that conversation?
Josh Allen is in that convo, yeah, for sure. But more reckless than Jalen Hurts. Probably more with Lamar. But Lamar is probably not lowering his shoulder like Josh Allen, taking dumb hits like him. But they're in the same category for sure. And that's why you see all of them in the top 10. When you're dual threat and at a skill level they're able to, it just makes them so dynamic. Defenses having to guard an extra man on the field just makes it harder. But I mentioned in those key games where maybe the defense didn't step up. What did they go out and do? They put up 40 or whatever it was, and Jalen Hurts has a game. And, yeah, sure, maybe the run game took out the pressure off for Hurts. Well, they get to the Super Bowl, and if you had said Jalen Hurts is rushing for 3 touchdowns, you'd probably say the Eagles probably win the Super Bowl. He throws for 300 yards, rushes for 3 touchdowns. I think he had 1 turnover, right?
Yeah, I believe he had the fumble. He fumbled, yeah.
Yeah. Other than that,
he threw a touchdown as well.
Biggest stage, yeah. So 4 touchdowns in a game. The biggest stage, he went out and performed, and it really wasn't his fault for losing the Super Bowl. And you could say, oh, yeah, he snuck in 3 of those rushing touchdowns. Well, why can he sneak in? It's because that's what he's good at. Good coaches call plays for their players in the best moments. Tom Brady, he was one of the better ones at QB sneaking as well. Was he as athletic as Jalen Hurts? No, definitely not. But when they get to that, they call it the 97%. It's because Jalen Hurts is so big and physical at the quarterback position. He played with the banged up ankle, like you defend your boy Justin Herbert with the broken ribs.
Yeah, he had a shoulder too.
Shoulder injury as well. And I think every time someone doubted Hurts, he stepped up in the moment. He got the Eagles to the Super Bowl and put up 4 touchdowns against Mahomes, who already has a championship. I know he's not playing defense, but biggest stage, Jalen Hurts has stepped up, and not knocking Joe Burrow, but maybe a little bit recency bias, sure. But Jalen Hurts gets discredited every time, and I think, it's time he gets his flowers from being benched in a, NCAA title game to, going to Oklahoma to being the last quarterback of that tier kind of drafted in his draft class.
Yeah, second round.
And now being able to just go out, wasn't even a starter at first, go out, he wasn't accurate. What did he do last year? He was accurate. I think, how many picks he have? Single digits.
Yeah, I think he had like 4.
Yeah, 4 picks.
3 or 4 picks.
I mean, come on. He didn't put up 40 touchdowns like Mahomes, but, I mean, Jalen Hurts does whatever he's asked to do and then some. And at a quarterback position, that's all you can do. He led his team to wins, which I think is important on the scale, maybe not the only thing. But he made those tough throws. Sure, he might not be the most accurate, or Joe Burrow may be a little more accurate. Well, Hurts makes up for it with his athleticism, his size, and just his ability to progress throughout the years. I think, he can only go forward again this year. So I got him, potentially being one of the best quarterbacks in the league in that MVP conversation once again.
I'm not going to argue. Jalen Hurts is the second best quarterback. So
I knew you wouldn't argue that, but it definitely, I was like, man, Burrow, and maybe I'm a little biased because I watch Burrow and he absolutely sucks against the Browns most of the time. But
yeah, I agree. I just think Burrow is just a better pure passer of the football. And going into this ranking,
you went with the pure see.
Because at the end of the day, that's the most important part of being a quarterback. When you got to step back, you got to make the throws when it matters. When teams know you're throwing, can you make that throw? And I just think Joe Burrow, is just a better thrower of the football than Jalen Hurts. Now, I completely agree. Bringing in athletics, if we bring it in, running the ball and being able to play make outside of the pocket and do all that other stuff, 100%, I'm with you. Jalen Hurts is better and brings more to the table on that side. But in terms of being a quarterback and throwing the ball and making the reads, I think Joe Burrow is better.
Yeah. Here's my thing. That's where I think that, yeah, sure, Joe Burrow, better passer. But bringing to the table what helps team wins games. Like you said, maybe, 3rd and 20, they're passing. Just, it's hard to say don't get in those situations, but, a quarterback with a little bit more athleticism has a chance to escape the pocket when there's pressure, where Joe Burrow might not be able to go out, get a 4-yard gain versus a 8-9 yard loss. So I think it all contributes to the game in, similar ways. And yeah, sure, the quarterback is, the gunslinger position. You got to be able to throw it. Look, 20 years ago, I mean, there was no athletic quarterbacks, maybe 25 years ago nowadays, but it wasn't really a thing. Now we're opening up the game. Sure, it makes them get hurt more, but, I mean, we go up and down our list. We got Hurts, we had Lamar, we had Allen, we had Herbert, who's, mobile. We had T-Law, who's mobile. Rodgers, who in his career, definitely mobile. I mean, the only pocket-present quarterbacks that you had on your list was, Cousins and Burrow.
Yeah.
So all the other guys, maybe not to the degree where Hurts and Allen do it, but Herbert gets out of the pocket. T-Law gets out of the pocket. I mean, even Tua sometimes could get out of the pocket a little bit. I know he was on my list, probably not. But Dak, he can get out of the pocket as well. I mean, so I think it goes hand in hand on what brings this team closer to winning. Maybe that's what I wanted to do. Instead of just winning, what gives your team the advantage to win football games.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying. I agree. Just for me personally, I think that passing ability is what
Ranks hires.
Is what puts these players over the hump. Because you mentioned, I do agree. Because guys like Geno Smith, like Jared Goff, even Tua, who he's a little mobile, but more of a pocket passer in the pocket. It's kind of why these guys get left off the list because they're not as explosive and stuff. But when you look at the top of the list, when you look at the Joe Burrows, when you look at the Patrick Mahomes, the Jalen Hurts, the Josh Allens, like what's the reason we think all of these guys are really good quarterbacks? It's because they're able to make plays with the ball through the air. Yeah, running is important and really good. If that was the case, we would have had Justin Fields on this list. We would have Anthony Richardson as a top 10 quarterback. Because
Richardson hasn't even played a game yet, so we can't even put him on.
In terms of running, he's the most athletic and craziest prospect we ever seen in the NFL. So I'm sure running the ball won't be an issue for him. It's throwing the ball, it's being able to read defenses and make plays. And I think that's just why Patrick Mahomes is at such an elite level and just a step above everyone else. It's not because Patrick Mahomes is faster than Jalen Hurts. It's not because he's bigger and runs more than Josh Allen. He's not more elusive than Lamar Jackson. He makes better throws.
He is elusive.
He is, but that's not what makes him special.
And you got to think that
in terms of being a quarterback,
his arm talent, but it's the throws he's able to make out the pocket.
Like you mentioned, the throws, 100%.
But you have to be able to get to that degree, I get what you're saying.
Think
it's sort of like that baseball mentality. I mean, I watched, the quarterback show where he's like, I go out there, I feel like I'm a shortstop. I just go back there and sling it like I run out and like making the crazy on-the-run throws that, in the unique left-hand shovel pass, little dump off, whatever it is. It's just he has a knack for comparing these other quarterbacks to Patrick Mahomes is almost unfair.
It is.
So
it is unfair because he can do both at such a high level.
Yeah, exactly.
In the pocket, he's the best quarterback in the league. Outside of the pocket, he's the best quarterback in the league.
So it's like, that's why, is Joe Burrow better than Hurts inside the pocket? Yeah. Is Hurts better outside the pocket? Yes. But I think that leeway between Burrow and Hurts that door is kind of shrinking when it comes to passing and what Hurts was able to do last year. Just the most important thing, taking care of the football, man. He did it, limited the picks. Can he limit those fumbles like the one in the Super Bowl? I don't know, but if the season ends and, Hurts is maybe 3 right behind, Burrow, would I be shocked? No. But I think what Hurts proved last year and what he did deserved him to give him that little 2 nod. And I know you as a Philly fan, you wanted to be, as unbiased as you can, but I don't like Philly. I could care less about, the Philadelphia Eagles or Jalen Hurts, but he proved wrong for the whole season. And as a quarterback, when you got that dog in you and you go out there and compete, and Joe Burrow obviously has that too. You mentioned his clutch gene. Mm-hmm. So, with those guys, it really just shakes up when you could go that 2 through 3. Possibly 4, but whatever. And, if Herbert ends up at the top of the list, would I be shocked? No. But I got him 8 preseason.
Get ready to not be shocked, fam. That's all I'm going to say.
Now, when Watson's number 3, I just want everyone to...
I'm going to be shocked. Like that.
At least
so you just want to... Let's read through it one more time. Just give you...
Go ahead.
You go from 1 to 10. Go ahead. Give your top 10.
Number 1, I got Mahomes. 2, Hurts. 3, Joe Burrow. 4, Lamar. Number 5, Josh Allen. 6, Tua. 7, Trevor Lawrence. 8, Justin Herbert. 9, Aaron Rodgers. And number 10, soon to be hired, Deshaun Watson.
All right. And so then my top 10 QBs, number 1, obviously Patrick Mahomes. At 2, I got Joe Burrow. 3, Justin Herbert. 4, Josh Allen. 5, Jalen Hurts. 6, I got Trevor Lawrence. 7, Lamar Jackson. 8, Aaron Rodgers. 9, Dak Prescott. 10, Kirk Cousins.
It wraps up our list. They got a little intense, man. I thought we were gonna be a little short on time. We're We're deep into this episode now, man.
Tua at 6, and then Herbert at 7.
Is that the only
crazy.
problem you have with me?
That's the only issue, bro. And I mean, they're crazy, but that's the only issue.
I mean, we'll see, man. I mean,
no love for Dak or Kirk Cousins, bro.
I was gonna throw Kirk at the 10 actually, but I was like, that's just unfair at that point because.
Wow.
But no love for Dak actually with that because
I
I was high on Dak last year in the Cowboys and I said they would win the NFC East and you clowned me and you were right. So I have zero faith in the Dallas Cowboys right now.
That we can agree with.
But yeah, man, that wraps up top 10 QB list, man. AFC and NFC West predictions as well tomorrow, man. Hall of Fame game. Football is finally back. Preseason in action. Any last comments you want to say before we sign off, man?
Oh, man. Football's 1 week closer.
Yes, sir. Goal2Go, man. On YouTube, Goal2Go Pod. On TikTok, like, comment, share, subscribe on the Tube, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon podcast as well. Go ahead, tune in, man. Goal2Go. Episode 50. Until next week, man.
Episode 50, man.
Yeah, episode 50. So, I mean, 2 more episodes. That's 52 weeks right there. But, I mean, we're already into 1 year of this channel. Nonetheless, man, season 2 getting closer every week. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Catch y'all next week, man. Peace.